set this all up. He should have used real creepy crawlies. He should have dropped them onto Randy.
That would have been a lot better. He should have dropped
like a loads of worms on him, like you've seen, like Boogeyman used to do that. They get the live stuff in. So I have no idea why they went with fake projections, which really didn't bother Randy Orton at all. There was no reaction from him. It wasn't like he was scared. No. Just supposedly the referee was scared, which is like, okay, come on, do we care? And that's bad acting anyway, because it's only a projection. So it made no sense. And probably looking at it from Randy Orton's point of view, it's all a blur anyway, just some brown lights squiggling about on the floor. So a total waste. And I really didn't understand it myself. I'm sure someone in the meeting room, like I said, thought this sounded like a good idea, and everyone agreed. It was like, we needed to do something different for the Bray Wyatt Randy Orton match, because it didn't have that something, and then they clearly thought that this was it. But if they were going to do it this way, should have been some sort of live kind of creepy crawly thing.
Yeah, I mean, it should have been like what's his name, Boogeyman. He used to have the worms coming out of his mouth. Now that would have been better than this, quite frankly. Now that was a little bit more sick and sadistic. Even Boogeyman doing those kind of things, but this was just stupid. So I didn't like it. It was a very short match, and Matt, I do get a sense. Actually, you just brought up a good point, and I kind of completely forgot about it when we heard all this back and forth that Randy didn't want to do the job, and they were going to make it a triple threat and all the rest of it. Kind of get the feeling now that was pretty much true after seeing this, because if this was on last, this would have been a disaster. I mean, what a terrible... I mean, when you think of how long this feud's been going on for, Matt, what a result that was. Seems absolutely stupid. And the worst thing about the feud was, for me, is the night Randy burned down the compound, apparently, and Sister Abigail's chair and all the rest of it. They did all that, and then the week later, Bray says it's only made me stronger. So it didn't even help anybody anyway. So it really confusing feud, and the result payoff was even worse for me. This has been a completely waste of... How long have they been together? What, 5 months? I don't know, 5-6 months, something like that, Matt. That this has been going on for. It feels
like longer.
Yeah, it seems an absolute waste of time. And I've got to be honest, it's strange, because you think a Royal Rumble winner, especially a babyface, fans are thinking he's going to win the title. We want him to win the title. I just felt it was so flat, the whole thing, and the ending. I was expecting a really spectacular ending. I felt this was just normal. This was like Raw for me. It was a very strange dynamic between these two, but I get a feeling the hearts weren't quite there, Matt, with this one, especially from Randy's side. I don't think he liked it, and I agree with you, Matt. I think for Bray, this is the end now. I mean, that is the last one I think you'll see him do. I mean, he had the title for a month, and he had to win it in amongst 6 people, so he's never really got the rub off of anybody, quite frankly. And this would have been the perfect time. I mean, I don't get why we would need Randy as the champion now. I think he's a name. He's good enough to do that stuff now without the belt. I really don't understand the logic there of having Randy having that belt, but that's what we got. And then, of course, on SmackDown this week, Matt, what a terrible ending to that was, that tag team match. And poor old Eric come back, and the first thing happens, again, he's pinned. He's the guy that gets pinned in it all. I mean, you just think to yourself, like, this whole Wyatt thing, you're probably going to have to end it now, quite frankly, for the poor guy, for any of them to get anywhere. Because look at Braun, he's on a much clearer path than what Bray is at the moment. You still there, Matt?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I had a cut out there.
Oh, right, yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I was just saying there at the end that the Wyatt thing in general, Matt, is kind of somewhat of a... It's as Matt Hardy would quote, broken. Do you think there's any... I mean, do you think they're just going to remain kind of mid-carder kind of guys now, and we just see them every now and then in a main event? Is that their role now, Matt?
Well, yeah, it's just one of those things that's been going on for too long now, isn't it? I mean, we've seen, like, the hugely popular faction, The Shield, that people were really into, and then they got rid of it when people still wanted more Shield. And then yet they've got this other faction, the Wyatts, and people have been kind of bored of this for a long time now, and they just keep resurrecting it, changing the people in it, trying to keep it going, and it's just one of those things that's never really interested me. I think Bray Wyatt is a stronger character on his own, when he has to rely on these other people, and like we saw on SmackDown, he abandons the ring, makes himself look like a coward while the other person takes the pin, it's just more damaging to his character. Sure. The only thing I can see them doing is, if they're going to keep dragging this out and out, they're going to drag this out until Sanity comes up or something and have another kind of faction versus faction, but I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't really want to see that either. Not saying... really negative on his part. Here's a real positive, though. Obviously, saying as well that it probably had just as long as kind of feud, in a sense, since probably back when the game was launched. In fact, well, probably actually longer than Randy and Bray in a sense, because it was SummerSlam of last year where we heard Goldberg and Brock were kind of, it was hinted, it was a rumour that Goldberg could come back and do a one-off match. Obviously, now the payoff to this, I will say, is a lot more positive than the payoff I've got of Bray and Randy. Like, as a long-term feud that has frustrated me in between with Goldberg and Brock, I felt like this was just perfect. The timing of it, the time of the match was perfect, the moves, everything in it was perfect. It was booked really, really well. Just took all the best bits of Goldberg, as much as, all he pretty much done was spears, to be honest with you, but it worked. And I guess you don't really want to see Goldberg struggle putting a submission on. Just go from his strengths rather than his weaknesses. Matt, what did you think of that match? Because I was actually really surprised with just how much I enjoyed it as a fan again. I was really taken out, and I thought this is a really good physical, like, sort of strong style match that has been missing, that you wanted to see from these guys at WrestleMania 20, no doubt, but. Obviously, 13 years later, I felt like this was a good payoff, and obviously the result was really important, but that worked out as well. What did you think of the match, Matt?
Yeah, I do think, considering what we've had from these two guys for like the last 6 months or so, this was the best match that they've had, or the best time that they've come together in the ring. I'm not going to say I was particularly blown away by it, but I think it did what it needed to do. Like when they had Brock on the back foot, and he'd taken a spear, we'd taken 3 spears, and he had taken a jackhammer, and it all fell over at that point, and I was like, no. That was the feeling that I think WWE had to recreate. If there was Brock Lesnar fans out there, they were feeling like Goldberg had his number. But then you get the kick out, and then it all changes, and then then we're going down the direction that WWE clearly want to take for the future. Stick with Brock, which is, I guess that's a sensible option. He's capable of more, and putting on more performances and longer time in the ring for a start. But good thing that Goldberg was a good sport about it. Taking 10 or so German suplexes. No meat feet there. That's being a sport about it, because I was kind of worried that he wouldn't want to put himself into that position. But credit to the guy for taking them. So I think it was good that they went out all physical. It did look like two monsters coming together in that ring. A little bit short, but for them, kind of a marathon.
Exactly. I mean, when I watched this match back, because I did watch the whole pay-per-view back again, most of it, and I've got to be honest, one of the few things they've done really well with this match, I felt, Matt, production-wise, I don't know if you remember the spot in the match where Brock does, it's the first bit of the match, and he does 3 suplexes in a row, and then he's like, Brock gets up and he kind of roars that he's done it, and then the camera is kind of zoomed in on Brock, so you don't see where Goldberg is, and then out of nowhere Goldberg spears him, and it's like, okay, he hasn't got the number yet, like he thought he did, but Goldberg's back again, he still hasn't conquered it. I thought that was a really good moment how they done that as a viewing audience. The way they shot that, and the other thing I really enjoyed, where Goldberg was going for the spear, was setting up in the corner, and Brock done the kind of leap in mid-air vertical. I thought that was really impressive, and kind of Goldberg goes splat into the turnbuckle. Like, there were some good moments in that to take, and like you say, Matt, he did certainly go to Suplex City, 10 in all, and then obviously the F5, and they didn't kind of do the silliness of like so many pinfalls to take Goldberg out. It was just one F5 after all the suplexes, which for me, that was the right way to go. And yeah, I think it was perfect. That sort of area was perfect for these two guys, because everybody by now, Matt, had expected this was going to be short anyway. So yeah, I thought they'd done a good job. Matt, when we go on to Raw, obviously Heyman comes out with Brock. You know, you expect gold from Heyman on the mic. Felt he'd done that really well. But the one thing we got from that was Braun Strowman coming out, Matt. And you know, from what I've been reading, and I think we made mention this maybe even a month ago on the podcast, Matt, that they were looking at Braun and Brock for potentially the way that they would go soon after WrestleMania. Looks like they're going to go that way, but with Braun Strowman, Matt, I mean, it wasn't exactly a great, impressive outing for him at WrestleMania, was it? It seemed like, why would you have Braun in that if he was never going to be even in the last three? I don't get that at all. I just think keep him away from it. You don't have him there. Like, I didn't see Samoa Joe. He wasn't there, probably because they didn't have anything good for him. So don't have him there. I mean, I'd rather him be protected than him just be out on a pre-show match. For me, that was a bit of a really stupid move from WWE, in my opinion, considering Braun is now looks like the next up-and-coming challenger here. But what do you think of the potential of that match between Brock and Braun, Matt? Is that something that would get you excited, or because I've been impressed with Braun. I think he's really improved very, very fast. But what do you think about that going forward, Matt?
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting one. I think it would be a nice little payoff for Braun there for all the hard work he's done over the last year to his character to get himself across the way that he has. But it would feel kind of like going back to the late 80s for me, like the two big monsters must collide, in typical Vince McMahon voiceover style, the immovable object, the unstoppable force, all of that kind of stuff. Going really back to that kind of way. But it's okay every now and then. I just feel like coming out of this, after this, I don't think it would do Braun much good, because it's pretty obvious Brock would be coming out on top of this. And after we saw coming into WrestleMania, Braun's going in off of a loss to Roman Reigns. Yeah. And it's almost like Brock's looking past Braun anyway, because he's talking about like the only other guy that beat the Undertaker, and he's looking at Roman and everyone else. As much as they want to boo it and whatever, it's now looking like Roman Reigns top bad guy versus Brock potentially top good guy in the company. Yeah,
well, I was going to say that, man. It felt like Brock was coming across babyface now, especially when I seen Braun go out there. It felt like Brock done the whole sort of backing down slightly to the bigger, badder, nasty guy of Braun. So it felt like they were subtly having Brock play. But then again, Matt, I don't know that Brock's ever been a babyface or heel if he's just Brock. In a lot of ways, like, does it just depend who he's up against sometimes with Brock Lesnar?
Well, I guess it's the same thing with Roman, then, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. So it's a very grey area of him, but well, it'll be interesting going forward. I mean, I guess I've had a lot of people say, it's another part-timer with the belt. Yeah, it is, but the problem is they really need that title to get some recognition, and the only good thing with Brock is he'll probably give that for a while. So it'll be like last time when he beat Cena. So we'll have to get through that. Matt, the only other thing coming out of WrestleMania was the other women's title for the SmackDown. I even sort of forgot about it by the time it come on, because the show had been so long. What did you make of that coming out? And obviously it wasn't a long time, and it seemed like it was about Naomi going over. What did you think of that?
Well, by the time this match was due to come on, I was kind of thinking to myself, how many matches I've got left in WrestleMania? I was thinking, have I missed this one? Was this on the pre-show? Did I fast forward this by accident? And then all of a sudden, the women are coming out, and I'm like, they've got the second to last match of the night. That would kind of surprised me. I didn't really see that one coming, and I'm not saying I don't deserve it, but the match was it was a right mess, really. I'm thinking, like, when you're going to get that many women, you're going to throw them in there, and there's only one pinfall to decide the winner. It's not like the other women's match. It's not an elimination. It won't come down to a wrestling classic of a one-on-one. It's just going to be like a jumble, and then someone's going to scramble a pin. That kind of made me wonder, like, why is that at that point in the night? I think it was just to give the fans some breathing space, if anything, after like the last few like sort of title matches on main events, matches that they've seen coming up towards the end one. But yeah, it didn't really do much for me, especially when we saw all the women coming out, their entrances getting cut short as they